Good morning, all. Thank you for joining us for the 2025 Mideastern Athletic Conference bi-weekly men's and women's basketball coaches video conference call presented by Town Bank. I'm Elise Scripter, the Director of Strategic Communications for the Mideastern Athletic Conference, and I will serve as moderator of today's question and answer session. The MEAC will hold the bi-weekly coaches conference every other Wednesday for the remainder of the conference play, with calls on January 22nd, February 5th, February 19th, and March 5th. The 2025 MEAC basketball tournament is scheduled for March 12th to the 15th at the Norfolk Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia. Please visit MEAC Hoops for more information on the tournament bracket, schedule, and ticketing information. Before we begin the video conference, I would like to go over today's procedures. The conference will begin with the MEAC notes featuring highlights, players of the week, and upcoming games. Afterwards, each institution's men's and women's head coach will join us for a question and answer session, followed by questions from the media. To ask a question, simply click the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. And now to Kylan Lewis, who will provide us with the MEAC notes. Go ahead, Kylan.
Thank you, Elise. Let's start by taking a moment to refresh ourselves on what's been happening in the MEAC. In women's bowling, the Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks look to defend their 2024 championship title, while powerhouse North Carolina A&T State, the preseason favorite, looks to reclaim their throne. The MEAC bowling teams return to the lane on Friday, January 17th, following the holiday break. 7 of the 8 MEAC bowling teams will compete in the Northeast Classic, hosted by Sacred Heart University. In track and field, Coppin State, Delaware State, Howard, Maryland Eastern Shore, and South Carolina State return to the track this weekend. The MEAC Indoor Track and Field Championships is February 23rd and the 24th at the Virginia Beach Sports Complex in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Championship Day will be broadcasted live on ESPN+. North Carolina Central Women's Basketball swept the weekly women's awards. Kyla Bryant received Player of the Week honors, while Morgan Callahan was named Defensive Player of the Week, and Shakira Foster was named the MEAC Rookie of the Week. On the men's side, Howard freshman Blake Harper was named Player and Rookie of the Week, while Norfolk State's Brian Moore Jr. was the Defensive Player of the Week. That catches us up on the MEAC notes, and back over to you, Elise.
Thank you, Kylan. At this time, I would like to welcome Executive Producer of the MEAC Digital Network, Mr. Lynn Thompson. Welcome, Lynn. Let's talk some MEAC basketball.
Hey, let's do that. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for the updates, Kylan and Elise. I'm excited to join you and the coaches and the media here for the weekly men and women's basketball coaches video conference call presented by Town Bank. So with that, let's get rolling. First up today is Coppin State. And we're joined this morning by Coppin State women's head coach Jermaine Woods and the men's head coach Larry Stewart. We'll start things off with Coach Woods. Coach Woods, your Lady Eagles sit atop the standings right now alongside Norfolk State at 2-0 with wins over North Carolina Central and South Carolina State. Now, you returned 2 of the top players from a season ago in Angel Jones and Layla Lawrence. Let's talk about these 2 top performers and the impact they've made thus far on this season.
Hey, appreciate that. First, man, shout out to Norfolk State being ranked in the mid-major top 10. Shout out to Howard for beating 9 HBCUs, man, and my team as well for, having a good non-conference season. I don't think we talked about that enough for what we did in the non-conference season. The HBCU Plus and magazines have covered it. I don't think the MEAC covered it enough for what we've done in non-conference. So I want to shout out to Howard and to Norfolk State for non-conference and beating teams that we came to compete with their budget. So I want to make sure I get that out, and I think that we need to do a better job of covering those games. If we want our conference to be pushed in the tournament, then we need to make sure that we highlight those opportunities that we're getting and competing against these teams. But back to Coppin State. Layla and Angel have been playing lights out. Layla obviously is one of the top double getters in the country. I think she's second or third right now. She's facing double teams every single night. Every time she touches the ball, there's 2 or 3 people on her. And she's doing a great job now of figuring out, who to get the ball to and how to distribute the ball. Super proud of her. And the other thing what's happening on the rebounding end is teams are just finding her. And so that she can't get the rebound, which is fine. So, other people have to step up. But, if we be honest, Layla could be played a week every week. And everybody who's gotten played a week has deserved it. But just speaking of who she is as a player, and Angel has really stepped up. Her shooting percentage is down a little bit from 3-point, but her free throw percentage is way up. She's getting to the free throw line more efficient, and she's more efficient at the free throw line. She's definitely being more aggressive, and her confidence is way better. She was a sophomore last year, a sophomore transfer. So, definitely thank you for highlighting those two players. But overall, as a team, man, we've been pretty good, with the most non-conference win in school history, which is a big feat for us. So it's been fun so far, and definitely, coming to the MEAC 2-0, sitting at the top of the staying at the top of the stands with the two skyscrapers in Howard and Norfolk State. We got a long ways to climb.
Well, Coach, you talked about a team. Let's talk about your team. You picked up a big win, non-conference over Arizona State on December 5th, and you're talking about gifts for Christmas. You followed that up by back-to-back overtime wins over George Washington and Kent State. Let's talk about the team play of the Lady Eagles in the month of December and how it sets you up for success in January.
I don't really know. Winning brings out the best in people sometimes. When you taste a little bit of success, you can go one or two ways, right? And I think winning has helped us. I don't know if the non-conference schedule helps us for MEAC though. I know people say that, and that's like a cliche thing that coaches say sometimes, and the media says. But when you get to MEAC, it's just different. Like it's different. It's different kind of basketball. It's a different brand of basketball. Everybody's the same size. Everybody's the same height. Nobody. It's just different. And so, we beat Arizona State. We beat Kent State. We beat who else? We beat GW. But North Carolina State was up. North Carolina Central was up 4 points, with 5 minutes to go in the game. So, you can't come into the MEAC play and thinking, oh, just because you beat such and such a non-conference that you're going to beat the MEAC teams. I mean, in the MEAC, we're competitive, and everybody comes to play every night. We got some of the best coaches. So we came in with the mindset we're 0-0, and we got to fight. Coach Baxter did a fantastic job, man. He does a fantastic job of getting his young women to play hard and compete. And their record doesn't indicate, what he does as a coach, and it showed, in both competitions. So you can't judge non-conference and conference together, but winning is fun, and you do get to celebrate those moments. So I'm definitely happy about our non-conference season and being 2-0 right now.
Okay, Coach. Well, you can't celebrate long. I mean, this weekend you got Norfolk State and Howard this weekend. What's the plan heading into those matchups?
Yeah, man. They're the two best teams in the conference, all right, and they've been that for a long time. I don't know when the last time we beat Norfolk. It felt like forever. And Howard been in the championship game, 2 years straight at least. So they're the top dogs of the conference, and it just is what it is. And I always tell Vickers and Coach Ty, that I strive to build my program the way that they've built theirs, and I have mad respect for both, and looking forward to competing. And we want to beat both. I mean, that's the goal, right? To go in and try to go 2-0, but it's a tall task. We got our hands full, like you said, back-to-back games, but we're looking forward to the opportunity of competing.
Okay, Coach, hold on for a little bit. We're going to turn our attention now to the men's program. Larry Stewart, the head coach of the Coppin State men's basketball program. Welcome to the show here, Coach. Your team is 1-1 in conference play after beating North Carolina Central 63-61. Yet, you also fell to South Carolina State in a tough one, 85-77. To date, how do you assess the team's performance in non-conference play and early in MEAC play?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay. I'm sorry. First and foremost, thanks for having me on. Non-conference is always going to be tough for us. We all know what we have to do, as a program here over Coppin State, just as everyone else has to do. But I just thought that, guys fought, they stayed in it. We stayed together through all the ups and downs. They come in and work hard each and every day. We had some key injuries early again this year. And so, the guys are still fighting and still believing.
Okay, Coach. I froze just a little bit here. I had a little technical problem there. Thanks for that. Let me ask you this now. You got several returners from last year, including Ryan Archie and Cameron Sparrow. Give us your thoughts on these players and that have emerged this year.
He hasn't played this year. He played early but got injured. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we're going to find out if he's going to need surgery. So he will more likely miss the whole MEAC season. But Cam Sproul, he had a great offseason. He came in, worked on his body a little bit. He was still recovering from an injury that that happened with him at the end of the season. And so he came in strong and with a lot of confidence and is starting to show up right now for us.
Okay, coach. And now you're going to face Norfolk and Howard this weekend. What's the strategy heading into these two big ball games?
Well, just to continue to do us, to continue to fight, continue to work on us, continue to believe in each other, believe in the system, believe in what we're doing, and just play together and stay together. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you're right. We're going to be watching and waiting to see what's going to happen between the Eagles program and these two tough ball clubs this weekend. Thanks a lot, Coach Woods and Coach Stewart. Best of luck to you this weekend and through the season. Hold on just for a few. Elise is going to take it over from here with questions from the media.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you are introduced. Our first questions for Coppin State head coaches come from Charles Hallman, Minnesota reporter.
Good morning, coaches. My name is Charles Hallman from the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. How are you today?
Good. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
I have a question for each one of you. If you could speak about your players that got recognized this week among the weekly honors. If there's anything that haven't been asked about them that you like to express on. And then also, you talked about not getting enough publicity about what y'all do in a non-conference. We try to do that here in Minnesota, but what can we do to be better at that and trying to get that word out so people know what Black colleges do in basketball?
I said that. Stu didn't say that, so I'll start. I didn't say that. I didn't include everybody. I said the MEAC. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I think that the people who cover HBCU sports outside of our conference, are shedding light on our conference. I retweet and repost every single thing. So, we have a few people, HBCU Go Sports, Live, Urban Sports. We have a few people that I know for sure that do a great job of putting out stuff about all HBCUs every single week. And so I do think we're getting the coverage on the national attention. I'm just speaking of, we want to move up in the seeding. We got to push it ourselves. That's what I'm referring to, not to any outside media sources. But we didn't have anybody recognized the player of the week this week on the women's basketball side. But we did go 2-0, so definitely happy about that.
Well, speak about your players, Jones and Lawrence.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they have received honors this year, and definitely happy about both of them. All the averages have went up. Obviously Layla, if you watch us, she's expanded her game a little bit out to the 3-point line, which I'm happy about to keep defenses honest. So I'm definitely happy about that. Also, Angel getting downhill a little bit more, working her mid-range game and getting to the free throw line consistently. So happy about that. And they both have really stepped it up defensively as well in guarding. So happy about both of them. We wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't have our record. We wouldn't have our non-conference win without the team, and especially both of them.
And Coach Stewart, can you speak on your players, Ellaby and Dunn?
Yeah, there are two transfers that come into the program. Both of them, bring a different skill set. They both can get downhill. They rebound for as well, and so we're going to be leaning on those two guys, as we get into the heart of this MEAC conference.
Thank you very much for both of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Coppin State come from Ray Rogers, Urban Sports Scene.
Hey, my question, good morning, is actually for Coach Woods. And first of all, congratulations on just elevating your program. But I remember last season, you talked about in the MEAC tournament, how you really focused on UMES. You got these big matchups you've already discussed. How do you focus on these matchups without putting too much emphasis, because you got so much of the season left to play and you got a bigger goal in mind, of course, which is to win the MEAC tournament?
You said it right there. I remember talking to you last year. We had a good time, actually, man. I appreciate you, man, your coverage.
For sure.
We have to, you have to put emphasis because you want to beat the best teams, right? And so, and you get to measure yourself up to the teams in the conference that are typically the best, and we want to be that. And until we can beat those teams, we are not that, right? And so, but on the flip side of that, like you said, is a bigger goal. So you want to win these games, and hopefully we win, and we're going to compete, and we're going to try to win. But I can't get too caught up in the emotions of the win or the loss, right? And I teach my young women, we do this, the curves, right? Go up and down, and the best teams are the teams that stay where, right in the middle, right? Because you're gonna have your highs and your lows. You can't get too high, you can't get too low, and that's what I try to tell them every single day. But I more to myself, right? You get those big wins as a coach, like yeah. You get those losses, you like damn it. But then you got to play hard one on Monday, right? And so that turnaround is fast, and you can't get too high or too low, Ray. But when tournament times come, you do get to lock in on that one team and try to advance. So that's a great question.
For sure. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
That is all of the media questions we have at this time for Coppin State head coaches. Thank you, Coach Woods and Coach Stewart, for joining us on today's call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Eagles will travel to face Norfolk State on January 11th for a 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. doubleheader. CSU travels to Howard on Monday, January 13th. Game times 5:30 and 7:30. Both of these matchups will be broadcast on ESPN+. Lynn, over to you for our next interview.
Our next interview happens to come from sunny and balmy Delaware State in Dover. How you guys doing this morning? Our next interview is going to be with the head coaches there, Delaware State women's head coach Jasmine Turner, and then the head men's basketball coach Stan Waterman. Let's turn our attention first to you, Coach Turner. 3-12 overall, the Lady Hornets are, but you haven't been able to really secure a conference victory yet, but we know one's coming soon. What will it take for the Hornets to change gears and capture that first conference win?
Yeah, I just think it's our mental focus. Just stay engaged where we are and how much we're getting better. Each game we've shown we're getting better in some areas. And we can't focus on, the losses that we've taken. We got to focus on the positive areas. Sometimes losing is hard and, it takes you out mentally. So just keeping us mentally engaged is the most important thing right now. And we put together some good practices. And I'm excited to see what we'll do this weekend.
Coach, you don't have a lot of seniority. You only one senior on the roster, basically. Talk about the growth of this program this year and the growing pains that come with such a young roster.
Yeah, I mean, with the youth, there comes a lot of mistakes. Also, with the youth, there comes a lot of teaching, a lot of patience, a lot of learning. We've only returned 3 players from last season's team, so it is a young team. We're playing this team. We're playing with freshmen and sophomores, 1 junior. So we don't talk about that too much in the locker room. We talk about our growth and development and when our time will come. And right now, our time is to learn and grow, as I share with them, to keep them engaged and keep them focused. But we've seen some bright spots from some young players that are emerging in this league, and I think they're going to have a good career here.
Okay, well, your team takes on South Carolina State and North Carolina Central this week. What's the approach going to be to these two teams, knowing full well that this is a learning grow period for your ball club?
Yeah, I mean, both teams play very hard. Just watching film over the weekend or the last couple of days of Coach Baxter and Coach Eatman and what their teams are doing. They play very, very hard. They're playing with a lot of fight. They don't give up, a lot of tenacity. And then talking to our team that we have to come with that more energy than that. And we have to do the things that we need to do. But these are two teams that are very well coached. These teams play very, very hard. They're very competitive in spite of, their circumstances as well this season. And like Coach Woods was saying, MEAC play is just different. Players come in with a different mentality, a different mindset, and they're focusing forward on the games that are ahead of them and the game that's up next. So going into this game is just about us coming out, playing with the amount of energy we need to, focusing on the things we need to focus on, and just trying to get our first road win this season.
Okay, Coach, we wish you nothing but the best. Hang on just for a little bit. We're going to now talk to Stan Waterman, the head men's basketball coach. Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm well. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Good. 7-9 so far, 0-2 in conference play, but you've lost several key players following your championship appearance last year. What's been the message to the newcomers as you rebuild this roster?
I think the immediate message for the newcomers is really just trying to get them acclimated and adjusted to our style of play and how we want to approach games, and always just trying to get better and get a few wins along the way.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess you got to depend really on the senior leadership of what Martez Robinson, Austin Andrews, and Newton. So how big of a role do you place on their shoulders, and how are they doing?
Well, those guys have all played pretty well. Again, certainly we would have loved to have won a few more games than we have, but I like what we're doing in terms of coming together and establishing our identity for the brand of basketball we want to play and the kind of team that we want to be. So we got a few older guys now that can have some experience, and hopefully they can pass that along, and we'll continue to get better as the season progresses.
Okay, well, you're preparing your team now to play the Bulldogs and North Carolina Central. How will you do so, and what's your game plan for those games?
Really, really tough weekend and an important weekend coming up for us. Obviously, we got off to an 0-2 start in the league against two really, really good teams in Howard and Norfolk State, and we competed in those games. But this weekend, we've got South Carolina State, who's probably playing as hard and as tough as anybody else in the league. Coach Martin has those guys playing hard and really, really tough. And then, of course, Lavelle Moulton and North Carolina Central guys are, as always, prepared and well-oiled. And so it's a real challenge for us. But we hope to be up to it, and hopefully we can get out of there with a win or two.
All right, Coach, we'll be watching both you and Coach Turner and what your ball clubs are going to do. Hold on just for a few. Elise, you're going to take it from here.
Thank you, Lynn. Again, as a reminder to the media, please remain muted until you've been introduced, and use the raise hand feature to indicate your questions. At this time, we will welcome Charles Hallman, Minnesota spokesman reporter, for questions to Delaware State head coaches.
Good morning. Our paper is Minnesota spokesman recorder, not reporter. Thank you very much. This is for Coach Turner. I'm hoping that you could speak a little bit more about the two players who was honored, Kiera and Mackenzie, if anything that wasn't asked about them that you like to speak on.
Yeah, those two players are players that returned from last season, sophomores, that that have learned the game a lot and learned the importance of some of the little things in terms of detail that we try to teach them every day. Mackenzie is a workhorse. She cleans it up on the board. She's our defensive captain, our defensive leader. She does a really good, as undersized forward, she does a really good job around the rim defending, and snagging those rebounds and giving us that passion and intensity on the defensive side of the ball. And then when we talk about Kiera McElrath, she's just a phenomenal person to start. And then just as an athlete, she has a scoring power. She showed that in the last few games, her scoring ability, her ability to stretch the floor for us, but also to facilitate and get other people involved in our offense. Those are two young players that I'm excited to see grow at our institution for the next few years.
Thank you very much, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Our next questions come from Ray Rogers.
All right, I have questions for both coaches. I want to start with Coach Turner because, Coach, you mentioned having a young group, and the challenges you're facing is something that's it's happening all throughout college athletics with the transfer portal and things of that nature. But in terms of the MEAC, the top teams have a lot of returning players. So in your eyes, how long do you think it's going to take, or at what time frame do you think you could give in terms of your team really starting to gel and find that continuity that will give them an opportunity to compete for a MEAC tournament title?
Yeah, I think that, I think our team we're getting very close. One of the words we're talking about in the locker room right now is consistency. I mean, if you look at how we played on Saturday versus Monday, two different teams. And that's been our thing the entire season, is just being consistent from game to game, and being prepared for what we're going to see every game. We see different things, teams are different. And so just being able to be us, no matter what the other team throws at us. So as we go through the season, I think we're very close. We're finding a good rotating 7 or 8 that's going to keep us in games, and then, eventually win some games. I think it's our consistency from game to game is what we're trying to figure out right now. And I think we'll figure that out within the next few games.
Oh, thanks, Coach. And For Coach Waterman, I know getting all to an 0-2 start wasn't the plan. You talked about how you constructed this roster in effort to compete, and you learn from that championship game against Howard and the tough guys that they have inside. But you kind of referenced this. How pleased are you that your team never stops fighting? Like when someone plays your squad, they're going to have to put you away. And how will that benefit this new group come tournament time, where it's only 3 games in 3 days, and you achieved that last year, and you know what it takes to get to that point?
Yeah, well, and again, I think one of the things that you talked about, and we talk about it in our locker room all the time, is being able to play for 40 minutes from start to finish. We're going to play as hard as we can. Now, we got to play a little bit better, and we got to be a little bit more consistent, and we got to be a bit more disciplined, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, I feel like we're playing pretty well. We got 3 of the top 10 scorers in the MEAC right now, so we can put the ball in the hole. That's not a problem either. We just got to be a little bit more disciplined with it, a bit more consistent. And again, use the regular season to continue to grow and improve and get better. And I know this year is different from last year, but if we can have a similar outcome where we're playing our best basketball in March and heading into April and get hot at the right time, I like that formula.
Real quick, just to follow up. So playing Norfolk State this early in tournament, early in conference play, you feel like it was a good measuring stick for this group that you got as they, look to grow the experience to get to that place, like I said, where you were last year?
No question. Norfolk State, Howard, they've been the barometer or the measuring stick in the league for the last 2 years, or the last 3-4 years, actually. And so getting a chance to see them and compete against them early, we kind of get a read for where we are and how much further we have to go to get to that point. So it's a good read for us. It's a chart for us. And we'll work and we'll shoot to get to where they are right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Our next questions come from Brandon King.
Good morning. Brandon King with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab and SneakerShopTalk.com. Got a question for both coaches. I want to start with Coach Turner, and you mentioned it earlier in your previous comments. Obviously, you've got a young team, so there's learning pains, there's development, and those lumps and things. And you talked about being a more consistent ball club. And when you're dealing with a young team, what are some things that you either look for or that you try to implement in order to try to develop that process in terms of fostering a team that has that consistent play that you're looking for?
Yeah, routine. Just getting them in the flow and a routine, whether practice, travel, prepping for games, just routine builds consistency. And then every now and then creating some chaos in practice, maybe in our schedule to make sure we're always prepared and to always be ready to pivot and adjust. Because in games we have to make adjustments, in life we have to make adjustments. So just building a strong routine and foundation for this group, and then just hitting them with different things at different times that's unexpected, so they understand how to handle adversity is some of the things that we've done on and off the court to build that consistency and that mental focus that I talked about earlier with this young group.
Okay, thanks, Coach. And then my next one is for Coach Waterman. And Coach, every year since you've been there, obviously the program in terms of your wins has trended in the right direction. So when you look at what you're doing in terms of building that particular program and getting it headed in the direction that you want, when you look at what are some things that you've been able to do to help kind of continue to facilitate Delaware State basketball starting to head in the right direction?
Well, I think the first thing, and we've talked about this a couple of times, one is just establishing a culture and an identity for the program, taking some pride in Delaware State basketball and Delaware State University, and having our guys feel really good and confident about putting on that jersey. And so I think we've done that. And now what we got to be able to do is maintain a level, again, of consistency and maintain some consistency in our roster and continue to build on that. Keep challenging the program with a tough non-conference schedule to get out and get some exposure. I mean, our media people have done a really good job of putting the word out about our growth and our development. And we just want to continue, as you said, to trend in that direction. With a couple of losses, I mean, I've always believed that there are more lessons in losses than there are in winning. And so we keep learning and we keep growing and we keep getting better. and then hopefully we get to the point where we're expecting to win every time out.
All right. Well, thank you both, and good luck as we move forth through the season.
Thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions at this time for Coach Turner and Coach Waterman. Thank you both for joining us today, and good luck this season.
Thank you.
Delaware State will travel to face South Carolina State on Saturday, January 11th for a doubleheader, game times 2 and 4 p.m. They'll follow up on Monday at North Carolina Central with game times 5:30 and 7:30. Both games will broadcast on ESPN+. Lynn, over to you for our next interviews.
Thanks so much, Elise. Now it's time to talk Howard University basketball. And joining me are representatives for both head coaches this morning. The Bison teams are 1-0 in MEAC action with wins over Delaware State. And first joining me representing Coach Grace this morning is Associate Head Coach Brian Davis. How you doing this morning, Coach Davis?
I'm great, Lynn. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. The women have picked up some key non-conference wins in the first half of the year. And how did this non-conference schedule prepare you for MEAC play, which is most important?
Yeah, I think this year we had a really balanced schedule of competition in the out-of-conference play. A lot of really good programs that we played against. And, I mean, it showed in our play. I mean, we continue to improve throughout the out-of-conference season. And it definitely prepared us to where we are now, continue the growth of the program.
Well, it certainly helps when you got a backcourt and Sanaya King and Destiny Howell. You know, it helps with that. What don't we know about these two key performers that helps you lead the team and helps them on the court?
I mean, they both set the standard every day for what we do in practice, and that's where it starts, in practice, in the weight room,
Okay, I think he's freezing just a little bit, and that's no pun intended. Up the way, it's even freezing in Florida, y'all. So, but that's important. Let's see if we can get him back just for a second. If not, we'll circle back to him. Let's turn our attention now to the men's basketball program. Pinch hitting for Coach Blakeney this morning is Daniel Marks, the Chief Program Strategist for the Bison. How you doing this morning, Mr. Marks? How are you?
Good, Lynn. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. The men have played a very aggressive non-conference schedule also this year. How did they approach this early season games, and what have you learned about this team from non-conference play that's going to help you now that you're in the middle of this juggernaut schedule for the MEAC crown?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot. I mean, we started the season at Kansas and at Missouri. We were on the road for the first 15 of the first, I think, 19 days of November. With different games. I know a lot of our conference brethren were dealing with the same thing, just the travel and being away from home, you really tests the group. And, you know, we've had some injuries and we haven't had a ton of lineup continuity. So just trying to figure out where all the pieces fit together as we move into conference play. But, you know, having a tough non-conference schedule and some opportunities to be on national TV was really good to prepare us for that.
Okay. It seems like the whole country now knows about Blake Harper. He earned national accolades as well as MEAC Player of the Week honors last week. Who is this guy? And can you talk about the impact of this young man on your program?
Yeah, I mean, he's an unbelievable story. He played at Gonzaga High School right down the street from campus, probably about a mile and a half away. He's didn't even start most of the year last year for his high school team. They have a lot of really talented players. Kid Nick Lewis, who's going to Xavier, Derek Dixon going to North Carolina, Alex Tumoy going to Harvard. So it's a really deep and talented program. So we, you know, believed in Blake and saw the potential in him. Coach Tyler Thornton on staff had played at Gonzaga. Actually, Blake's dad was one of his assistant coaches at Gonzaga. So he's known Blake for basically his whole life. And been familiar with him. But, you know, if anyone could say they saw this coming, you know, he's the only freshman in the country averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. You know, 3 30-point games, which is also the only freshman in the country to do that. You know, just a really, really talented kid, worked really hard on his body and his conditioning. When he first got to Howard, he wasn't able to practice with us for the first month and a half because he couldn't pass the conditioning test. And then once he kind of got over that hurdle, his game and his confidence really took off, and we started to see some of it on our foreign tour to Brazil, And then, opening night at Kansas, I want to say he had 16 or 18 points and has just kind of continued to grow and gain confidence.
Okay. Well, you're going to need that confidence because you host a Morgan State team that just defeated Central in double overtime. So how do you prepare the Bears for the Bears who they've got 4 players averaging double figures, pick your poison.
Yeah, I mean, Morgan State has been a really tough opponent for us the last couple of years. This is my 3rd year at Howard. We haven't won a game at Morgan State. Since I've been there, we've won both games. We played at home and did beat them in the MEAC tournament last year. But, I think Will Thomas is one of the best players in the league. Cameron Hobbs obviously had an unbelievable night last night in that victory. So it's an experienced team, a team that's had some continuity, which you don't always see in college basketball these days. Those guys have been together for a couple of years now, and played well together. So it's a well-coached team. They've always given us, Will Thomas has given us, I mean, he's probably averaging 22, 24 against us the last couple of years. So, stopping him and preventing him from getting to that mid-range area where he's really comfortable, and then, being able to contain those guards from getting into the paint will be keys for us.
Yeah, well, we wish you nothing but the best this next game, and I want to thank you and Coach Davis for representing the Bison program. Hold on just for a few minutes. You got some more questions coming from the media. Elise, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you've been introduced. As we have been rejoined by Coach Brian Davis from Howard Women, so we will also include him in questions from the media as well. We will begin with Charles Hallman.
Good morning, coaches. Charles Hallman, Minnesota Spoken Recorder. I have a question each for both coaches. For Coach Brian, could you speak a little bit about Zenon Thomas and her play this year? We know that you talked about the other 2 players, but can you talk about how she's playing this year?
Yeah, Z's been amazing. We're definitely happy to have her. She's been a key piece in the structure of our team this year. To be able to play inside, get the ball inside, get the ball outside, to be able to tandem with Destiny and Sanaya has been great. And so she's been a key piece to create balance with our team.
And for Coach Marks, if you could speak a little bit about Joshua Strong. He's a local kid here from Minnesota. Just how he's progressing. We know that he's might be the only law school participant that's playing college basketball this year.
Yeah, Josh has been amazing for our program, both on and off the court. His dedication and ability to go to class, and then, practice and study. Every free minute we have on the road, he's in his books, on his laptop, studying. So just the standard that he sets for, Coach Blakeney calls Howard the Dream Factory because he believes anything is possible for the players in our program. And Josh is kind of the living embodiment of that, being able to go to law school while also competing at a high level for us. He's one of the leading 3-point shooters in the country, shooting over 50% this year from 3 after shooting 46% last year. So that's really been his, calling card for us, is his ability to make shots and stretch the floor.
Thank you very much. Good luck to both coaches this weekend.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Howard University come from Ray Rogers.
All right, I got questions for both coaches. Coach Davis, good to see you again, my friend. I want to start with you because it's been some ups and downs, but just some of the lineups I've seen you play when you have like Sanaya and Destiny, Tiana, and Kaya all on the court sometimes together, and you haven't necessarily put together this great offensive game, but I just see the potential. Is there a feeling amongst the coaching staff that you still haven't seen the best that this team has to offer yet this season?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that we're still trending in the right direction, and we haven't played our best basketball yet with this team. And that's one thing that we always try to do with our program. We try to be able to mold to whatever style of play, because there's multiple teams in this conference that got different styles of play. Styles make fights, and so we're able to go small when we need to. We're able to go big when we need to, and that's a luxury to have. And so You're exactly right. You know, we're looking for some people off the bench to step up and play better, and we hope that they're going to do that very soon. So that's the plan. Is go keep building.
I appreciate you. And for Coach Marks, I don't think you could have prepared for a second consecutive year with the number of injuries that you all have endured. Concussions aren't common in basketball, but again, is affected your program. But is there any silver lining, so to speak, in the sense that you know how to navigate through significant injuries to your roster?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had to deal with that a lot last year. You know, Jelani Williams missed a lot of the season. Isaiah Warfield missed portions. Osi Okoji, Dom Campbell, Shai Odom. This year, you know, Bryce Harris, Isaiah Brown, Dom Campbell, Osi. You know, Joshua's out right now. Hopefully be back this weekend. But it's definitely been kind of, we just don't get a chance to see what the full group looks like together. And I think that's been the toughest part is, you know, some of the combinations and the lineup patterns that we would have expected to have throughout the season, you kind of throw it out the window. And, you know, you've got lineups where Blake Harper's playing the 5 or Cam Shockley Okeke is playing the 5. And then, you know, Munir Hema, who hasn't played much, you know, now starting, you know, and giving us some good minutes. So it's just kind of been trial by fire almost. You know, I'd say the one thing that, you know, the one silver lining is you get minutes for guys, whether it's Ayodele Taiwo, Miles Stewart, you know, Calvin Robbins, even a little bit, like that haven't played significant minutes for the program in the past. Mohima, as I mentioned, who now are getting a chance to play because of some of the injuries. And, you know, if we need to lean on them come MEAC conference tournament time, you know, we can trust them and they have some experience playing in some big moments. I think last year we saw that with Elijah Williams in the MEAC tournament. He didn't play consistently, but when there was injuries, he got some chances throughout the season, and then was our 6th man that MEAC tournament, and really a key component to us being able to pull it out. So that would be the silver lining, is getting guys experience to prepare them for March.
Thanks.
And our next questions for Howard come from Brandon King.
Morning, coaches. Brandon King with
Morning.
Inside HBCU Sports Lab and sneakershoptalk.com. This question is for Coach Marks. And Coach, in your earlier comments, you talked about continuity in terms of the roster. And I know injuries aside, you know, that is something that even on the best teams, there's so much roster turnover. When you do have some degree of continuity, can you talk about the benefits both from a coaching standpoint and then in terms of on court play and with your program as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think continuity is just really important because you get to see what works and what doesn't. You get to actually put the lineups out there and say, like, okay, if we go small, you know, and play like a 5-out, how does that look? Okay, if we play, you know, Bryce Harris at the 5, how does that look? If we play Bryce with a true 5, what does that look like? And be able to, you know, see what works and what doesn't. I think that's the hardest part about the injuries, is now it's like a what if almost. It's like, oh, well, if we had, you know, Dom and Bryce, okay, what would that look like? And you're kind of like hoping and thinking, you know, okay, if we had Isaiah Brown, you know, we've struggled with, you know, point guard play at points this year, just not having someone that has been a full-time point guard. You know, Jaron Johnson has done a good job, and Anwar Gill, but they haven't really played, you know, point guard full time for a full season yet. And, you know, Isaiah was a guy that we expected to come in as a freshman and, you know, really help kind of stabilize and solidify that position with some key minutes. And so just not being able to kind of know what those things are. And then, you know, from a standpoint of, you know, recruiting and going into next season as well, it's tough to know, okay, what exactly can player X bring you or player Y bring you if you haven't seen it on the court. It's a lot more projection based as opposed to what you're seeing with your eyes. So I'd say that's the toughest part.
Okay. Well, thanks for that insight, Coach, and wish you both good luck as we move forward and get further into MEAC play.
Appreciate you.
That concludes all of our media questions at this time for the Howard University coaches. Thank you both so much for joining us, Coach Davis and Coach Marks. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And thank you, Elise.
Howard will host Morgan State and Coppin State this weekend on January 11th and 13th, respectively. Saturday's games tip off at 2 and 4 p.m., while Monday's games are set for 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. Both of these games will also be on ESPN+. Lynn, over to you for our next interviews.
Thank you so much, Elise. Let's go to the shore. UMES, we're joined now by first-year head coaches Malika Willis and Cleo Hill Jr. Welcome to the MEAC, both of you. And let's turn our attention first to Coach Willis. Coach Willis, you played a very challenging non-conference schedule, including games at Illinois, Marquette, UVA, Mississippi State, to name a few, to prepare your team for the remainder of the season. Has it worked so far? And if it has, tell us about it.
Yeah, no, I think that those games were definitely to prepare us for MEAC, and I think it has worked. We had a lot of growing pains early on. I mean, this is before the season started. Just just getting everybody in practice, learning the new system, learning the new defense, everything. And personnel where I want to put people. So I think that started early on, and those games that in November and December definitely prepared us because it was really all about growth to get confident and comfortable with the system that they're in right now.
Okay, well, you got two players, Samara Haynes, who leads your team in scoring with 12.1 points a game, and Sonera Skanes add an average of almost 8 points a game, but 6.5 rebounds a game. Talk about these two top performers in your program and the impact they've made this point of the year so far.
Well, Haynes has been one of our go-tos the entire season. I mean, this is nothing new for her. She definitely, our team goes as she goes. So she's very instrumental to our definitely our offense. Defense, we switch things up a lot of times, so we rely on other people on defense. But she definitely is instrumental, and she's one of our leaders on the court and a captain. Sonera Skanes is somebody that got cleared from an injury recently, and she's coming along very well. She's 100% right now, so we're just looking forward to see how she does in the MEAC.
Okay. Well, what's it going to take for the Hawks to change the gears, so to speak, and get your first win and get some momentum?
Yeah, I think just being able to play for 40 minutes. We've had a lot of rotations, mainly with a lot of foul trouble and things like that. But when we get a core group on the court and can really rely on them for 40 minutes, that's going to really change things.
Okay. Well, we're going to look forward to seeing that and watching your team in action. Hold on just for a few. We're going to turn our attention briefly to Coach Hill. Welcome to the league, Coach. How you doing today?
Good, appreciate it.
Good.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everybody.
Good. Same to you. Your team has played the same type of schedule. UConn, Maryland, Illinois, Arkansas. What do you have to take away from that juggernaut of a schedule to get you ready for your MEAC schedule and momentum down towards the tournament?
You called it a juggernaut. It's been called the gauntlet schedule.
Okay.
I heard that a lot during the course of the non-conference play, but it was done on purpose. My coaching staff and my players, I wanted everybody to see how the top teams in the country, see how they play, and just see their facilities, and just see how they do things to be considered one of the top teams in the country. You ran off a few, especially the national champions in UConn. So it was something that was intentional, and we did learn from it. There are things that we still go back to now and see how they do things, defensively and offensively. And then for us, it becomes now carry over from looking at them, carry over from what we do in practice every day, carry over from film. And I think that will eventually be the key to us being successful or not.
Okay. Leadership on the floor is also a huge factor for you. Let's talk about KC Shaw and his emergence as a leader on your team this year.
Well, this is KC's first time in this role. He came with me from Winston-Salem State, where he was not in that role. So it's a learning process for him, being a leader, definitely on the court, but being a leader off the court as well. We threw him into the fire. Although we have good balance, we have some transfers, some grad transfers, junior college guys and freshmen, so we have good balance. So for him to be a leader on and off the court is something he's going to have to grow into.
And Coach, well, now you got to prep for 2 games this weekend, Coach. Let's talk about your preparation for these 2 tough ball games this weekend.
Yeah, both games will be tough. I think, like everybody said on the call, South Carolina State has been playing lights out basketball. They play really, really hard. And we all know what Lavelle Moulton has done at my alma mater, North Carolina Central. So they'll be ready to play. That'll be an interesting game for me, going back home for the first time playing against the Eagles. So we're preparing for it. We're going to prepare kind of for both games for the next 2 practices, since it's a quick turnaround, Saturday to Monday. So we're going to take some things that they kind of both do together and kind of knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay, well, we wish you nothing but the best. Thanks so much, Coach Willis and Coach Hill. Welcome to the league. As I mentioned before, that's it for me. Elise has more coming now from the media.
Thank you, Lynn. Again, as a reminder to the media, please remain muted until you've been introduced. Our first questions for Maryland Eastern Shore head coaches come from Charles Hallman.
Good morning, coaches. My question is for both of you. In your opinion, do you feel that media like ours that's not in the MEAC area are doing the best job possible to promote your programs, to promote the league basketball, so that people in our area will know you better, as opposed to teams that media that usually cover you on a regular basis?
Well, from my end, I think we have been promoted solid. I think it's been good. I'm from New Jersey, but spent a lot of time in North Carolina. And I get text messages and emails all the time about the coverage of our program. So from my knowledge, especially my first year and first couple of months, it's been great.
Yeah, I'm with Coach Hill. Of course, like anything, I think that things could be done bigger and better on at any conference, especially, I mean, I've been a lot of places, so I always feel that way. But at the same time, I see a lot of familiar faces on this call also that I've been on Zooms with and interviews with also. So I think we do a pretty good job.
Thank you, coaches. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Maryland Eastern Shore coaches come from Ray Rogers.
All right, thanks, coaches. I want to start with Coach Willis. We spoke before and talked about you having veterans on that team like Zamara, who they know how close they were 2 years ago, but you've had some frustrations, as you mentioned. What's the mindset currently? And you started out league play, of course, with a difficult game against a top team. So what's the mindset currently of this group? Are you still as confident that you can get back to that point where you can compete for a MEAC tournament title this season?
Yeah, I think our mindset is pretty steady. That's the hard part with the non-conferences. How do you manage the locker room and things like that? And we've been doing a great job. We're staying consistent in the fact that we're gonna always be aggressive. We're gonna always be physical. We're hungry for a win, of course, but we look at the things that aren't statted on the stat sheet, the deflections. How many times we getting on the floor, taking charges. We're a blue collar team. So I congratulate that stuff in the locker room. But I'm still confident. We're still confident. We know, we watch a lot of film and we see where we're deficient at and how many points we're leaving on the boards with missed free throws and missed layups and things like that. But it's gonna happen.
Thanks, Coach. And Coach Hill, you seem just as excited today as you did from the time you were introduced as coach. And does that come from just a confidence that at some point your group is going to develop that continuity, considering it's a brand new roster, and start competing and start winning games and making a statement in the MEAC, where right now I don't think you're on most teams' radar?
Appreciate it, Ray. Hawk pride, man. Hawk pride.
For sure.
Well, what I've been trying to get across to my coaches and my players, I've been coaching long enough to know it's not a sprint right now. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And as a couple of coaches have said, you want to get to know your team and improve every day for 3 games in April. So that's what we've been trying to get across to our guys. And I think for the most part, we've been able to do that. We kind of got some lineups that we like. They're trying to grasp a whole new system with 13 new guys and 4 new coaches. So it's gonna be a process, but at this time, I kind of like where we are. The non-conference play was what it was, and getting to conference play, playing against the Spartans of Norfolk State, one of the top teams and one of the top coaches in the conference. We kind of got a good measuring stick of where we are, so we feel pretty good about going into the conference play.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
That concludes all of our media questions at this time for Maryland Eastern Shore head coaches, Coach Willis and Hill. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and good luck this season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maryland Eastern Shore will travel to face North Carolina Central on Saturday, January 11th for a 2 and 4 p.m. doubleheader. Eastern Shore will face South Carolina State on Monday, January 13th at 5:30 and 7:30, both games on ESPN+. Lynn, over to you now for Morgan State.
Thanks so much, Elise. Let's now turn our attention to Morgan State University. Joining us today are the Morgan State University head coaches, Ed Davis, in his 9th year leading the Morgan women, and men's head coach Kevin Brodus in his 6th year in charge. First up, Coach Davis. Ed Davis, your team is 5-1 in the last 6 games. What has sparked the turning point, and how do you feel now when it seems like you're playing some of the best ball early in the year? I think you got to unmute yourself too, Coach.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I said thanks for that question. Right now, for me, it's just developing some form of consistency. These are the last 2 years that we've gone into the portal, and the portal's going to be one way or the other. And we take full responsibility for that. But, we're finally getting some kids in that understand what it is to be in the MEAC. I don't care what conferences they came through, but when you come here, this is going to be your most difficult challenge. And I think for some of them, they're finally realizing the differences. As I listen to the coaches talking about the non-conference games, we've done the same, but they haven't understand what it takes to play in this conference. So now I think over the past weeks, they're beginning to bite in and understand exactly what's needed to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Coach, you talking about success, you got a lot of returning experience from last year, and you mentioned that last year, that same process, and I guess it's working because Jayla Bannerman, 10.5 points a game. This young lady has experience. How does this experience benefit the Bears now as you move into conference play?
Well, a player like Bannerman, which we're glad to have, Baltimore native, comes in with experience of the conference. So she is able to echo what we say a lot about what is needed from certain positions, especially from the perimeter positions. So she's a very good advocate in letting the kids know how tough you got to play, how tough Eastern Shore played when she was there, and to always keep that. Fortunately, I've been able to get another player in the second semester who comes from a Power 5 who's relaying the same message to these kids. And I think, like I said, the last couple of games, we're biting in a little bit more.
Well, that's newcomer, Naya Ojukwu. She's made a splash with 37 points in the last 2 games. What an impact. Let's talk about that.
Well, Ojukwu's a kid that came in under a lot of adversity, but got things straight and really wanted to be successful where she landed. And that's one of the things we talked about. And that HBCU was not going to be a place you could just come and we'd be a doormat step for you. I told her that. And she bit into that and said, I'll do everything I can, coach, to get us at the highest playing field we could get. And really good kid, really intelligent kid. And that impact has kind of showed up the last couple of games. And I'm hoping that it'll continue with that, with that same format with her.
Okay, well, the momentum, I know you're hoping that momentum is going to continue too, and we're going to be watching. So hold on just for a few. We're going to talk to Kevin Brodus now. Coach Brodus, how you doing? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. I'm doing okay.
Hey, you got Cameron Hobbs and Will Thomas. These two guys were essential in the double overtime victory yesterday against Central. Talk about how these two put the team virtually on their back and combined for 69 points in the game.
Yeah. When you look at the stat sheet, yes, they scored a lot of points, but it was the other guys that, like the Daniel Akatobes, who had 10 rebounds and 6 blocks, and Rob Lawson, who had some big plays and got hurt at the end. But we had multiple guys that come in and do things that don't go in the stat sheet. I mean, those guys, one had 40 and one had 29. They filled the stat sheet with scoring, but it was the other guys that did the other things to make you come out victorious.
Okay, Coach, you spreading the wealth, and that's what team effort is, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, I tell you, our bench was really good, not just, on the floor, but on the sideline, just encouraging these guys. And playing a game for 50 minutes is tough, as you guys know, 2 overtimes, and our guys persevered through it, and we came out victorious. It was by the luck of the draw, Yeah. It was a tough fought MEAC game, and like the 2 nights or 3 nights before, South Carolina State just out-toughened us. That's what it came down to. I mean, they're a tough ball club, a really, really tough team. Play hard, play smart, and play together.
Well, right now you got 4 players averaging at least 12 points a game, Coach. That's spreading the wealth. Talk about the consistency and the contribution of multiple players and I guess that's got to be a part of the formula for your success, isn't it?
Yeah. But the part we're looking for consistency of is guys playing each game. That's the problem we're having with injuries. We got guys that won't play for 2 games, and then a guy plays, and a guy, sometimes it's self-diagnosis, but we need more consistent play from everybody on the floor. We're getting the scoring. I always say we can score the basketball, but now we got to have some consistency on defense and playing the game. So, I'm happy with them scoring, but the game is played on 2 ends of the court, as most of you who coached before understand.
Yeah. Coach, I'll tell you this. 7 of your wins have come at home. 3 of the next 4 games are going to be at home. You built a home court advantage. And how are you going to take that advantage and transfer that to the road trips?
Good question. Maybe you can help me with that, but I didn't build the home court advantage. The MEAC built it. They built the schedule. If I could go back and do it, I'd rather play these next 3 on the road because we have no students. We had 100 people in the gym yesterday, and I mean, our students don't come back to the end of the month. So it is what it is. You gotta play with the hand you dealt. So we're gonna make the best of it and try to win the road games and the home games. We're not going in on the road saying, "Oh, it's a road game. We'll just wait till we get home and try to win." No, we're gonna try to win the ones on the road too, and that's a mark of a toughness. We gotta have a tough mindset to go on the road and win in this league, any league.
Well, we wish you nothing but the best moving forward. We know you're trying to build a momentum and keep the momentum. So thanks, Coach Davis. Coach Brodus, that's it for me. Here's Elise.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, please remain muted until you've been introduced. Our first questions for Morgan State head coaches come from Ray Rogers.
All right. Good morning, coaches. First question is for Coach Davis. Last season, MEAC tournament, you played Howard, and it was a tough defensive battle. By all indications, for some of the reasons you already mentioned, you're a better offensive team this season. Do you think that with this upcoming matchup, you're going to see more offense from your group?
Well, great question. We're like a systematic type team. Kids that are supposed to take shots in certain sets got to take them and hopefully make some of them. So, if you look at us last year, we took shots, we just couldn't score. And Howard was very good at what they did. They scored and they definitely played defense. So for us, it's now putting together the concept you just made of making those shots, making those free throws. We win a game when we missed 15 layups down in Puerto Rico. And that really hurt. And we ended up losing that game by like 2 points. So look at what would have happened. But to answer that question, we've got to play both sides of the ball to beat Howard and all these teams. I'm not just singling out Howard, Norfolk. To me, it's everybody. We played Central, we played South Carolina State. Those two teams are very good. So, you know, you can't relax on anybody in this conference. You just can't. So we are a little bit better offensively, yes. With Ojukwu coming in, and also with my freshman Bogans being able to play. And a lot of people have forgotten about Layla Fair. She's a pretty good post player. So, you know, if we can put all these things together, I think, you know, we've got a chance.
Appreciate that, Coach. And for Coach Brodus, I guess it's a similar question because you played Howard last season a few times, of course, in the tournament. How much does that resonate with your guys? I know you've had injuries, but you still bring back a lot of experience. So how does that play into just their mindset as they approach this coming game and then future MEAC games?
We'll see. You know, last year during the regular season, we split with them. And then in the tournament, they beat us. These guys know what's at stake. You know, they always say beltway this, beltway that. All our games are big games. And Howard poses a different problem for us. They can really shoot. And not to say the other teams couldn't, because they can, but that's what they're predicated off of, shooting threes and stuff like that. But we're up for the task. Hopefully our guys come ready to play, you know, so may the best team win.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That is all of the media questions we have at this time from Morgan State head coaches. Thank you so much both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morgan State will travel to face Howard and Norfolk State this weekend on January 11th and 13th, respectively. Saturday's game times are set for 2 and 4 p.m., while Monday's games will tip off at 5:30 and 7:30. Both games will air on ESPN+. At this time, we will look to move on with Coach Baxter and Coach Moten from North Carolina Central.
Okay, and we'll circle back as soon as they come and join us. But let's turn our attention now to North Carolina Central. The Eagles, we're going to be talking this morning with the women's head coach, Terrence Baxter, and also with the men's head coach, Lavelle Moten. Welcome, coaches. I see you, Coach Baxter. 0-2 so far in MEAC conference play with 2 wins in the last 4 games. Coach Baxter, you picked up a big win defeating Furman 77-76 behind contributions from Kyla Bryant and Morgan Callahan and Shakira Foster. Let's talk about that win first.
It was a good win for us. So we had a tough week that week. We had some kids that had to move out the way a little bit, and it shortened our team, but it brought us together. And trying to get this video to come back on. Yeah. And it was a good thing. The schedule we had, it was tough. It was just tough for us in the beginning. And the LSU game was one that was the toughest for us, but it was the one that woke us up as well.
Well, Coach,
go ahead.
Yeah, it was a big win. Everybody was excited about that win. And then also lately you overcame a 13-point deficit and you took a 4th quarter lead against Coppin State. You know, what sparked that rally and how did you carry that momentum through the rest of conference play?
Really and truly, it's just my young kids starting to grow up. We started the year with 8 games. We going for the year. I lost 4 starters before the season even started for the year. Hopefully to get one back in a couple of weeks, but that's an iffy situation. But I got 1 senior and 2 sophomores and the rest freshmen on the floor. So we're learning, trying to win close games at the end of the day. And last year's team was a veteran team, so at the end of the games they kind of knew how to win. All I had to do was direct them a little bit. But with this team right here, we're making crucial mistakes in timely positions on the court. And I felt like in the Coppin game, we had the ball tied twice, and we got 2 moving screen calls on us that gave them the ball right back, and we still had the last shot to try to tie the game. And against Morgan State, we gave them the ball after a rebound or after a steal under their basket for them to score at least 6 or 7 times, and we lose that game by 5. So just youth mistakes at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Coach, you played a real tough non-conference schedule. I mean, you played some top 25 programs. You loaded them up, didn't you? 6 Power 5 programs: LSU, number 7, UNC, number 9, 16, Tennessee, number 19. How did that impact your young roster?
Oh man, when I built it, we were trying to raise some money, of course. But when I built it, like I said, I had 8 returners coming back, and the young kids wouldn't have to play as much. But the injury bug, he slept in our gym one more time this year, so that magic number of 7 came back to hunt us again. But my young kids got the experience. And it's my first year in the contract, so if we're gonna do it, let's do it now. And now let's build what we're trying to build. But I didn't get in the game for wins and losses, even though they matter. I got in the game for my kids to have great experiences, and all my kids got to play in all those big gyms, and it didn't break us. And we won't be doing it again next year, but it was a great experience, and my kids got better. And my young kids who's supposed to be fighting over 20 minutes together, all of them end up playing 20 minutes because of the injuries. So we growing up, and we just trying to figure out how to win games at the end, because we're in the games, and we just got to stop making mistakes.
All right. Well, you got some learning experiences to put in your suitcase as you travel the road towards success, Coach. Hold on just for a second. We know that Coach Moten is still practicing, running a little late. Elise, you want to take it from here with North Carolina Central?
Yes, sir. Thank you. As a reminder to the media, please remain muted until you've been introduced. We will start with Ray Rogers for questions for Coach Baxter.
Yeah, Coach Baxter, just listening to all that you just said and seeing what your team has experienced in a non-conference, what are your goals realistically? Is it more about development, or is your focus still on wins for the remainder of the season?
Oh, we're definitely trying to win. That's what I do. We win games, and we're gonna fight for the rest of the year. My first year getting the contract, I went and got me some freshmen that can play. And I didn't go to the portal because I want to build a program right now in my first year or 2. And if they give me time to get it done, it's going to pay off in the future. I hope it pays off for me. But what I'm building here, you can see it. I got freshmen on the floor, and we in games right now. I mean, we played Power 4s with my freshmen, and I got my core is young. And Morgan Callahan's our leader. She's our only senior that's on the floor this year. And trying to get her to come back one more year when that group will be a little older. And now I might pluck a piece or 2 out of the portal this summer to add to what we got going on. But we initially want to play fast. We want to press the whole game. But like I said, that injury bug won't get out my gym and let me do what I want to do. So eventually we're going to get there, and eventually we're going to be a problem for everybody.
I appreciate you, Coach. Stay safe out there, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
Our next questions for Coach Baxter come from Charles Hallman.
Good morning, Coach Baxter. Charles Hallman, Minnesota Spokesman Recorder.
How we doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are you? If you could speak a little bit more about the 3 players who got honored this week, Bryant, Foster, and Callahan, how their progress up to date, and just in terms of helping your team move to the goals that you want them to accomplish this year.
Morgan Callahan, she fell slightly in the active last season, so she's back to try to prove who she really is, and she's leading our team. And KB, Kyla Bryant, she had a great freshman campaign, and she fell slighted as well, so she's out on but she's having to play the point guard position, but she's really not a point guard until we get one back. But she's as well right now, so she's grown as a player in that as well. And then Shakiria Foster, man, I'm telling you, that young lady is going to be special in this league, and I think she's going to break some records. She has a natural tact for just putting the ball in the hole, and she plays on both ends. And as a freshman right now, she's guarding the best guard every night. And Jones at Coppin State, she introduced her to the league pretty good. And like I tell her, hey, you got to grow up, and then when it's your turn to give that back, you're going to be able to give it back. But that kid is going to be special. But my big three, they leading us right now with one being a senior, one being a sophomore, and one being a freshman. We'll take that because the future is definitely bright over here in North Carolina Central.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And our next questions for Coach Baxter come from Liv and Tila.
Hello, Coach Baxter. This is Liv, aka Liv for Hoops. I wanted to speak on Kyla Bryant and the success she's been having. A lot of people don't really pay attention to her assists, but yesterday versus Morgan State, she did knock a double-double with points and assists. And the 2 games prior, she hit 9 assists in both those games. You do say she's out of position currently, playing that point guard. We saw her mostly on the wing last year. How are you helping her navigate playing that point guard position while also having better ball control? Because yesterday she almost did have a triple-double with those turnovers. But how are you helping her navigate? Because she is such a special talent, especially when it comes to her scoring.
Well, and like you said, she is out of position, and she's being coached by a point guard. So we have our little battles here and there, but getting her to trust me in the moments is, and she does trust me in the moments, and she makes crucial mistakes at times, and you can tell she's out of position, but that kid can do anything. And when we get a point guard, you're going to really see her come out of her shell once we get our point guard back in a couple of weeks. But Kyla Bryant I've known her since she was probably 5 years old, and she's a gym rat. She stays in the gym. She loves the game. She wants to go to the next level. She comes to practice every day, and she practices hard. She's just a great kid, man, and I hope to keep her forever, but I know we can't.
All right. That concludes all of our media questions for Coach Baxter at this time. Coach, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and good luck the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Eagle Pride.
All right. North Carolina Central will host Maryland Eastern Shore this Saturday and follow with Delaware State on Monday. Game times for the women are 2 o'clock and 5:30 respectively. Both games broadcasted on ESPN+. Lynn, back over to you, and we will return to Norfolk State.
Thank you so much, Elise. And I do see that we've got both head coaches from Norfolk State basketball program joining us. I'd like to welcome Norfolk State women's basketball coach Larry Vickers and the men's head coach Rob Jones. First, the Lady Spartans are 2-0 in MEAC play, and they're ranked number 8 in the College Insider Mid-Major poll. Coach Vickers, you've collected a pair of wins over SEC programs, Missouri and Auburn. What statements do you think these types of wins say about your program and the quality of basketball we play in the MEAC? And I see he's muted.
Y'all unmuted me?
Happy New Year to you, Coach.
Happy New Year. Hold on. Let me have a seat.
Did you hear the question? You heard my question?
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Oh, I did not hear the question.
You
I did
did.
not hear the question. I didn't realize that it was Norfolk State women's basketball time yet. I apologize.
That's quite all right, Coach. All I said to you was this. You got some great wins over SEC programs. You
Yes,
beat
sir.
Missouri, you beat Auburn. What statements do these types of wins say about your program and the quality of play in the MEAC?
Well, I think for us, we're just trying to break glass ceilings. We're constantly trying to do that. We've been trying to do that since 2016 when we kind of took over this program. And, people talk about the SEC wins, but we're also excited about not losing to any CAA opponents since 2021. It's not losing to any Big South program since, I want to say, 22. So we're excited and just about all the things that we've accomplished non-conference, not just the SEC wins, even though those are kind of going to be more publicized than the others.
Mm-hmm. Coach, you got a roster that's loaded with some talent too. I mean, Diamond Johnson, Kiera Wheeler. You got other ball players that are seemingly unknown, but they're not to the people who you play against. But talk about the impact of these two players in particular, and the impact they've had on the program and your success.
Well, I think as far as Diamond Johnson goes, I'm not sure how many programs in the country get transfers and it makes the ESPN ticker. She's special. She is a super special talent. She's a super special person as well. She does everything the right way. She works hard every day. She truly loves basketball, which is really something that you dream of when you bring when you bring in student athletes. Kiara Mimi Wheeler is another one. Loves basketball. She's in the gym yesterday on her day off, working on post-series stuff. She just constantly wants to get better. And I think when you have leadership like that at the top, the other talented players that you talked about, the Bria Clark freshman team, she's kind of really come into her role as a starter these last 10 games, averaging over double digits. Ajane Richardson, one of the most talented guards in our league, our sixth starter, potentially one of the 6 women of the years. We're just excited about what we have at our guard play, at our forward play, and as we move forward, you'll begin to see hopefully more of them play and more of them contribute.
Coach, in addition to those two, you brought back 7 other key players from last year's championship team. What's the advantage of having those returners as you try to run it back?
Well, yeah, we returned 8 of our 11.
Yeah.
And the 9th is still floating around the program. She's a GA for us, Crystal White. But it just speaks to the sisterhood in the locker room, that in a time of the transfer portal, these women, these ladies who won 27 games last year decide to kind of run it back and check off some other boxes on their resumes.
Well, it's certainly a great resume. Hold on just for a few moments, Coach. We're going to turn our attention to Coach Rob right now, whose men's team is 2-0 and also in the MEAC play. We'll turn back to you in just a few with some media questions. But Coach Rob Jones, Happy New Year to you again. And let's talk about the newcomers to your roster. You didn't rebuild, you reloaded. And this contribution, the contribution that they're making, already got you to 11 wins this year so far.
Yeah, it's great that that we were able to get some guys to fill some of the major holes that we had. I mean, we did lose the MEAC Player of the Year and we lost the MEAC Sixth Man of the Year. So those are 2 major spots, and I was happy through our recruiting that we were able to replace those guys almost seamlessly with Brian Moore and a whole bunch of other guys that Jalen Myers and Sid McMahon, all those guys like that. So I'm excited about that.
You're 5-1 in the last 6 games, Coach. Is this a mid-season rally, or if it's not, what has sparked whatever is occurring? 5 out of 6.
Well, I think that we played a tough schedule. I think that if you look at our schedule, strength of schedule wise, we had one of the top 100 schedules in the country at one point. So even though we didn't play to the naked eye, a lot of like high majors, we played, at the time, the #1 team in the country and a top 25 team, but we played a lot of really good mid majors, the Grand Canyons, the High Points, the list goes on, James Madison, all those teams like that. So things are starting to come along. We're in conference play, and I think we started to hit a stride a little bit. We're not close to a finished product, but we are starting to get there a little bit.
Coach, you've been doing this for a long time now. Isn't that something? I remember when you first came into the league, but you've been doing this for a while. Don't say a long time, a while. Okay. Yeah. So how do you see this team at this point stacking up to some of your other teams in conference play at this point?
It's funny because we've had teams with obviously like Joe Bryan and stuff like that, and this is actually the highest rated analytically from a Ken Palm and a NCAA net ranking standpoint that we've ever had at Norfolk State University. So that's exciting. I mean, I see these guys every day, so maybe I'm still kind of on the fence about how good they can be. But from an analytics standpoint, they're the highest ranked team that we've ever had. So hopefully we can keep it going. We can keep ascending, and guys just keep meshing because it's a process, as you know. It's not just like an overnight thing. And I'm just excited to be in the position that we're in. To have 11 wins the second week in January is with the schedule that we played is we're in pretty good shape.
Great, Coach. Thanks, Coach Vickers and Coach Jones. That's it for me. Here's Elise now with questions from the media.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, please remain muted until you've been introduced. Our first questions for Coach Jones and Coach Vickers come from Ray Rogers.
Hey, what's going on, coaches? I want to start with Coach Vickers. I got similar questions for both of you. Coach Vickers, you said that in Puerto Rico, your team had a little bit too much fun, and now they
Yeah.
seem like they're a little too serious. They are locked in though, and the results are showing. So how do you kind of find that balance as you're getting into conference play and you want to stay focused on your goals, hopefully winning the MEAC tournament and getting a better seed in the NCAA tournament. But how do you have that balance to where they're still having fun and enjoying the moment?
Well, I guess we want to have more short-term goals than long-term goals, so we can kind of check boxes. I think that's important for my group to kind of see results right away. So we just try and put some short-term goals together where we can, focus on halves, focus on medias, and then enjoy this game. I think everybody who we recruit, we kind of only ask them one real question: do you love the game? And if you love it, you can get through days like today where it's going to be 35 degrees in the gym, but you gotta love it. And I think I have a group that absolutely loves the game, and it kind of makes everything easier.
All right, and thanks, Coach. And Coach Jones, I know you don't like to always spill all your sauce or your tea, but how do you keep your group so mentally locked in? I mean, the High Point game, the Delaware State game, every time the opponent try to make a run, it's like your team didn't waver. In the Delaware State game, they would not stop coming for you guys, but yet you continue to have answers. How do you get your team so mentally tough? And how is that going to impact you, of course, moving forward as conference play kicks off?
I mean, we try to put them in adverse situations in practice to make sure that when things happen in the game that no one breaks, and I think that we have a group of guys that, of course, from an age standpoint, is like I'm coaching like a G League team. So like, that's the first thing from that. We have a lot of older guys and things of that nature. But so they've seen the wars, they've seen battles. We got some 6-year players, 5th-year players, so they've seen just about everything, and credit to those guys for not breaking, because even with the Delaware State game, our leading scorer Brian Moore was hurt. That was his first single-digit game all year due to pretty much injury. Christian Ings wasn't even in the building at all, and we were able to pull out pretty much a convincing win against a tough Delaware State team at their place. So that's a credit to all of our guys, the depth, the belief. I do think there's a belief. I do truly believe that these guys have a belief that they can be good, and there's a hunger to be good as well.
Thanks, Coach.
Our next questions for the Spartans come from Charles Hallman.
Good morning, coaches. Charles Holman, Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. I have one question for each coach. First, for Coach Vickers. Can you speak a little bit more about how Kiera Wheeler is progressing this year? She's from Minneapolis, and also how much more can you say about Diamond Johnson?
Well, I think Kiera has been really, really good this year. And it's hard to tell in the numbers because statistically her points are down. But she's seen more double teams, gimmick defenses than she's seen all last year, which just kind of speaks to the type of player that she is, that she's, getting all this attention. Diamond shoots from so deep sometimes. It's hard to run little gimmick defenses against her. So Mimi has kind of been the one that teams have been trying to take out. But she's handled it with poise. All her defensive statistics are up. Her blocks are up. Her steals are up. Her defensive rebounds are up. But, as she kind of navigates the different, defenses that she's seeing for her scoring, she's remained an excellent captain and teammate.
Thank you, Coach. And this is for Coach Jones. Can you speak a little bit more on how Mr. Moore's progress has been up to date?
Mr. Moore, that's funny, Mr. Moore. I don't think I've ever called him that. But with Brian, he's been a guy that's been, I can't say a pleasant surprise. He has been a pleasant surprise, but he's a kid that puts in a lot of work to get the results that he gets. He came from Murray State averaging 9.5 points. We put him in a different role here for him to get the ball a little bit more. And, I'll be the first one to say I didn't think he would be averaging, 19 points a game or whatever he is, 18, 19 points a game. But I did think that he would be a key piece to this puzzle. And he's deceptively athletic. Teams think that he's just a driver, but he actually shoots like 52% from three. So now you have to pick your poison a little bit, and he's just done an outstanding job for us so far, and hopefully he can continue it.
Thank you, both coaches. Good luck this weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next questions for the Spartans come from Liv Antila.
Hi, good morning. My question is for Coach Vickers. Your two sophomores, so AJ Richardson and Debria Clark, have certainly made a jump, especially Richardson from their freshman campaign to now. And although people love to just, talk about your big two, which they are an amazing big two, but your other pieces are just as important. Can you speak on just the jump they've both made in order to, get more acclimated into the Norfolk State system and the confidence that they're now displaying in their sophomore year?
Well, AJ Ajane, we kind of played her last year almost like Vinnie Johnson, Jamal Crawford, instant offense off the bench. Her scoring, she's always been a super talented guard that can score the basketball a lot of different ways. Her jump has been mainly defensively. We hang our hat on defense, and she's kind of done an excellent job with that. Debria brings us toughness, but it's also like a skill toughness. Where she's shooting a really good percentage from three with teams, just kind of playing her for the drive. And she's so versatile. But she's somebody that we can put on the top of our press. She's going to change the game defensively as well. But our point guard room is really good. Ajane Richardson, Debria Clark, Diamond Johnson, and Nia Fields, who was second team all conference last year. So the strength of our team has been our point guards, and hopefully, throughout the year, they can all finish strong together.
That concludes all of our media questions at this time for Norfolk State head coaches Vickers and Jones. Thank you both for joining us this season or today, and good luck this season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Norfolk State will host Coppin State on Saturday, January 11th for a 2 and 4 p.m. doubleheader, with Morgan State coming to town on Monday at 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. at Eccles Arena. Lynn, over to you for our next interview with South Carolina State head coach Eric Martin and Tim Eatman.
That's right. We're going to go to Orangeburg, South Carolina right about now for our final interview of the day. Right now we've got the Bulldogs up, and I'd like to welcome South Carolina State women's head coach Tim Eatman and the men's head coach Eric Martin. Happy New Year to both of you. And let's start first with Coach Martin. How are you today?
Doing great. Happy New Year to everyone at the MEAC.
Happy New Year to you too. Coach, your men returned home after riding a pair of conference wins over Morgan State and Coppin State to sit tied for first in the MEAC standings with Norfolk State, Coach. After a close, real close 79-72 game against the Georgia Bulldogs. Talk about how big of a ball game that was and what it meant to your program and the growth in your team with the 2-0 start in conference play.
Yes, sir. Obviously, the Georgia game was good. First half, we were elite. That's the best we've been all year. We weren't able to finish it. I think, as I told our guys, we need to get better, one, at playing without fouling and putting guys at the foul line. And the other thing we have to do is we have to stop turning the ball over. I mean, we press and turn teams over, but how much does that help us if they turn it over and we turn it right back over to them? So we tried to take the positives from the Georgia game and move on and get ready for MEAC play. But anytime you play road games in any league, but in our league, the MEAC, if you can come away with 2 wins, it was a good weekend for us. So we feel like we're trending in the right direction. My starting power forward, the Georgia game, he's out because of injury, but it's next man up. And that's my philosophy when it comes to my team. And I think maybe because of my depth, I think we're able to lean on that next man up phrase a little bit more because I play so many guys.
Coach, and you play them hard. That's one word we've heard from all the coaches that said the Bulldogs play hard the whole game. And half of your Bulldog squad returned from last year. Mitchell Taylor, Michael Teal, Wilson Dubinsky, and others. Talk about how valuable this veteran leadership has been to your program.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't foresee 8 guys coming back to my program last year with the advent of the portal. Kids can leave whenever they want. So we had our exit meetings. I think in the group, I think everyone felt that the way the season ended, it wasn't the type of way they wanted to end it. So maybe they got together a group and came back. I don't have any NIL or cost of attendance, so they did that knowing that, hey, we want to do something special here, and so I look forward to doing that.
Okay, Coach. And right now you're 3-1 at home this year, playing at home against Delaware State and Maryland Eastern Shore this week. I guess the home court advantage has to give you something special. So what is it going to take for you to go 4-0 in MEAC play?
Once again, we need to adjust to the referees. We played Xavier. The Big East refs didn't let us touch them. We played Georgia in the SEC. They let us beat the hell out of each other. So we need to figure out the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game how the referees are going to call it. It's not the referee that's fault. It's our job to adjust to them. And maybe that's me as the coach. Maybe I need to change a few things schematically to where we're aggressive, but we're not overly aggressive. But I've always said it's easier to dial them back than it is to ramp them up and get them to play as hard as we do. So that's on me more than it is my players.
Okay. Well, we wish you nothing but the best of luck. You got to hold on just for a minute. We're going to talk to Tim. We're going to talk to Coach Eatman right now. How are you, Coach? I see you there. Happy
I'm
New Year
great.
to you. Good.
I'm great. Happy New Year to everybody.
Good, good. You're 0-2 right now in conference play, looking for that signature win. You got a fairly young roster this year, but talk about the senior leadership of Michaela Lumpkin and Rakaya Reed.
Lumpkin is just a tremendous kid, and because she's such a great person, and she has great self-esteem, and because she has great self-esteem, she allows you to coach her. She's not a woe is me kid. She's a great person. Her parents raised her terrific, and because they've done such a great job of raising her, she can handle the adversity that we may be going through and continue to come back each day and fight every day. Rakaya Reed, we need her to get healthy. She's been out for the last month and a half, and so when she was in our starting lineup, we played really well. So we just hoping that she can get healthy. Actually, today I'm just walking off the floor. She's in practice today, so hopefully she'll be able to play this weekend.
What about Angie Justine? Is she going to come back too also?
Yes, hopefully she'll be ready to go this weekend. So basically the biggest thing for our team is we got to get healthy so we can get better.
And what is it going to take for the Bulldogs to change gears and capture that first conference win? Is it continuity and getting everybody healthy?
Got to get healthy so we can get better.
Okay, and then and playing at home will help too, won't it?
It won't help if we don't get healthy.
Okay.
So we got to get healthy so we can get better. We can't get any continuity because, one day we have one kid play. Shanice Reed had 27 against Coastal. Then all of a sudden she didn't play. Angie has 25 the other night, and Tanaya didn't play. So once we can get all of our kids healthy, hopefully we can get better.
Okay. Well, we certainly wish that will happen for you and the Lady Bulldog program. Hold on just for a second. Both coaches and Elise, you'll take it from there with the media.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As a reminder to the media, please remain muted until you've been introduced. Our first questions for Coach Martin and Coach Eatman are from Charles Hallman.
Good morning, coaches. This is specifically for Coach Martin, Charles Hallman, Minnesota spokesman recorder. Can you speak a little bit on the progress of Omar and Drayton? They were both honored as top performers in this weekly awards category.
Yeah, both of them put a ton of work in the summer. Drayton's from Houston. He got a chance to go home and work out with Mr. Lucas. He came back a lot more confident, a little bit more polished. And Omar is a gym rat. He's always in the gym, and Omar's probably our toughest guy on the team. And you talk about someone who every day, gets after it in practice. And what you see from Omar in the game is what he does in practice. He's aggressive defensively. If he's open, he's not afraid to shoot it. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing, but I always like guys who are willing to bet on themselves, and that's definitely Omar Krosky. And we need both of those guys to play like they did this weekend if we're going to win the MEAC.
And this is for Coach Aikman. Good seeing you. Happy New Year. How's your team's attitude in terms of overall, dealing with everything that they've been going through thus far this season? How you feel the climate of your team is at this point?
I'm pleased with that. I have a group that they come to work every day to do whatever they need to get better. So their attitudes and their effort has been tremendous. They know that they need to get healthy. They played a very good game against Morgan State, but we played without McGowan. And so when we played without McGowan, we knew going into the game we wasn't going to have her. So I think our kids are just resilient, and that comes from that leadership from Lumpkin and Reed and those kids in Hinton. They keep us focused on what we need to get accomplished every day.
Good luck to both of you this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Our next questions for Coach Martin and Eatman come from Ray Rogers.
All right, first question is for Coach Martin. Your team, they play with the confidence, but also they play with sort of an edge as if they had something to prove. And we saw that, at least I feel like I saw that, carry you guys into the MEAC tournament last year. But you saw how the pressure and intensity is stepped up a notch in the tournament. So how can your team learn from their current run and the way they've competed this year, the games you've already won? How can this help you to prepare for the tournament and grow from your experience from last season?
Great question. We got a lot of guys back from last year, but I do believe this is a totally different team. So how we're made up is a little bit different. I got some bigger guards. I got some guys to where now some of the guys who played point guard last year, they can get off the ball and do a little bit more scoring. But I believe our growth really is in just our maturity as a team. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to play the schedule we did. Besides Xavier in Georgia, you're going to Marshall, at South Carolina. I don't think you really find out a lot about your team if you're playing a bunch of cupcakes. And that's no disrespect to the teams we played that weren't as power forward. But I just believe our maturity we've matured a lot, and we still have a long way to go. It's hard to say, hey, we're going to win the MEAC tournament, because first we need to take care of the MEAC games, and then your seeding will take care of who your opponent is. But I thought last year it was a just with our success during the season, the tough way to end the season. But sometimes adversity and failure can be the beginning of growth and something great to happen in the near future. So we try not to talk about that a lot. We talked about the Delaware State game a lot in the summer before we went to Puerto Rico, but we've kind of gotten rid of that talk. Now it's on to the next game and the next team we play. So we're looking forward to trying to win the MEAC regular season, and then hopefully we'll be one of the 1 or 2 spots where we can play and have a day off and see how things shake out when we get to that point.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck to you. And Coach Eatman, we see the effort from your team. That's never in question. So in those games where you're so close, how do you get your team to get over the hump in those games where you know in your heart that you should have won? Like the Morgan State game.
Well, first of all, what we talked about at Coppin State is that we have to understand that we're a good team. And when you're a bad team, you can afford to make a ton of mistakes because the game is really not ever, you don't think you got a chance to win. But when you recognize that you're a good team, you're focused on trying to do all the things right. Whether when you come to a closeout, whether you're going to touch the basketball, when you're boxing out, whether you're going to hit somebody and turn and pivot to rebound, when you set a screen, you're going to roll it in. Good teams do that because they know they got an opportunity to win. Bad teams don't, because they recognize that they're going to lose. So we got to get our kids to understand that we are a good team, but we have to continue to play like a good team every possession.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
That concludes our media questions at this time for South Carolina State head coaches Eric Martin and Tim Eatman. Thank you, gentlemen, both for joining us today, and good luck this season.
Thank you.
You all.
South Carolina State is home this week, hosting Delaware State Saturday at 2 and 4 p.m. for a doubleheader. followed with Maryland Eastern Shore on Monday at 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. at Smith Hammond Middleton Memorial Center. Games will broadcast on ESPN+. Before we wrap things up, we will welcome back North Carolina Central men's head coach Lavelle Moten. Lynn, over to you for your talk with Coach Moten.
Thanks so much. Happy New Year to you, Coach Moten.
Happy New Year, brother. How you doing?
Man, since 2009, this is going on what, 15th, 16th season as a head coach in Durham. You know, the 16th edition.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this is something else, Coach. And every year is a new edition of Eagle basketball. Let's talk about this particular ball club. The men are 7-12 overall, including big non-conference wins over William & Mary, Gardner Webb, and Longwood. And you're led now by Perry Smith Jr. You got Isaac Parson, and both of those guys scored 19 points each in the double overtime game at Morgan State. In addition to those two guys, let's talk about some of the impact players on this year's squad so far.
You know, Lynn, in all honesty, that's what we're searching for. You know, it's really a different and unique ball club. And you've known the type of teams that we've had.
He's freezing them.
The guy that was a potential player of the year candidate, the collective. We got to do it by the group. The problem with that is we have a bunch of guys. Can you hear me, Lynn?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought somebody said I was freezing. The problem with that is we have so many new guys that they really don't know what they're doing right now. You can look at a box score one game, but it fluctuates. There's no consistency. And the inconsistency means they're not really understand on both ends of the floor. And it was right now in our league, experience is paramount. You look at teams like Norfolk and South Carolina State, like they're older, they're mature. Yeah, we just lack we lack the necessary experience right now. We're too immature to walk into other gyms and compete at the highest level and leave. And that's on us. It's a collective. Like you know how I am. I'm a straight shooter, right? So that's not on them. That's not on me. That's not on the stat. It's on all of us. We win together. We lose together. And that's the challenge, to come in here daily and try to rectify that.
Coach, right now you're second in the league in scoring offense and third in scoring defense. So that means you are close to that balanced approach to really rectifying whatever your problems are. How much more do you need to do? Is it simply to keep playing or to keep listening and gaining that experience?
You said the key word, listening. It's situational basketball, right? Situational basketball comes down to time scoring situation. And when you enter that equation, you have to understand time score situation and listen. We didn't do a good job as a staff communicating that to them yesterday. And our team didn't do a good job of receiving it. Again, it's all on us. And some of the things that happened in that game, it's never happened in my coaching career. So now we got to go back and reevaluate and say, okay, what are we doing wrong, right? And how can we hurry up and rectify this so we can manufacture wins, so we can be the type of program and team that we know we can.
Okay, well, you got coming into town this weekend, UMES and Dell State. And a chance for you to regain some momentum. What will it take to do that?
Man, they're two talented, well-coached, tough basketball teams. I got tremendous respect for, both of those guys, man. And, I'll start with Eastern Shore because that's who we're playing on Saturday. Like Cleo, I'm not only a fan of Cleo Hill, I'm a fan of Cleo Hill Sr., right? I don't think he's talked about enough, and he's a North Carolina Central guy too. Right. So he's done an outstanding job everywhere that he's been. He's doing an outstanding job in his first year at Eastern Shore, and those guys are extremely talented. So any team that we play on any given night, it can go either way. This is a league right now where everyone is good. Everyone is good. Everyone can present a difficult challenge for their opposing team. So we just got to be ready to play.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for me. Elise, you've got some questions from the media.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, please remain muted until you've been introduced. Our first questions for Coach Moten come from Charles Hallman.
Good morning, Coach. Charles Hall from Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Just if you could speak a little bit on the progress of Deontay and Floyd and how they're doing this year so far.
They're learning, right? They're still trying to grasp what we're trying to accomplish. You know, such is life when you're a new guy coming into a new program, trying to learn a new system, new coaching, new ways, new practices, new ideals, new principles, new beliefs. It's just tough for them right now. I think they're starting to get their feet wet. And I always say, judge us and you become who you are. And I don't know why this is, by Martin Luther King Day. For some reason, it's like that's when it starts to click for all of our new guys, right? So it's really difficult because we don't have an opportunity to take a European road trip or tour and go play, or have these guys here for both sessions in the summer a lot of times. And so they're kind of playing catch up. And, you know, playing catch up through trial by error, sometimes that can be, you know, it can take a sting. Dion had a tough grasp with the loss last night, right? And I just told him, look, man, you're going to learn from this. You're going to build from this. Just keep your head up and we'll continue to move forward, right? Floyd is starting to insert himself into the lineup a little more. He shoots the ball at a high clip. And so we're definitely going to need that. He has to understand what we're trying to do and accomplish defensively. And they will. And I got extreme trust in that. And we'll be better because of it.
Thank you, Coach Moulton. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate you. Happy New Year.
Our next questions for Coach Moulton come from Brandon King.
All right. Brandon King with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab and sneakershoptalk.com. Happy New Year, Coach. How you doing?
Happy New Year, Brandon.
All right, I'm doing well. I believe it. I don't know if it was at one of the media days. It was this year or last year. You'd mentioned kind of not knowing off the top what your team was in a given year, and that always kind of stuck with me. So, in that vein, I wanted to ask the question of: is there a certain time each season where you get to kind of know what you have in terms of your team? Or since it's a different grouping of young men, does that process happen at different times in different seasons?
I would like to say it always happens at different times and different seasons, but I would be lying because sometimes when you think someone has it, they don't. They'll put two good games together and then dip two games, and then they'll put one good game and have a bad game. When they're having that inconsistency, it means they haven't grasped it, right? The consistency is really who they are on a day-to-day basis. And I always use that time stamp and that place mark as Martin Luther King's birthday, right? And now it helps me know who to put in, when to put them in, who can close the game. Like as coaches, we struggle with that during this NIL era and portal era, transfer portal era, because we've always been a program of development. Right, so we've had freshmen and JUCO guys, and you know whoever. We've had transfers that came in, bought in, and by their second or third year, they were like assistant coaches within the program. With this transfer portal era, it's not like that. You got a new wave every single year, and the guys that return, to be honest with you, they got 1 foot in, 1 foot out because they looking for their next move, and that's the reality. It ain't no complaints; it's the reality of it, right? So the buy-in overall isn't what it once was. And so I think that may procrastinate the learning curve process. So I'm hoping it's Martin Luther King's birthday. Since I've been here, it's always been that. So I can know exactly who you are and how I can and cannot depend on you, and what situation I need to place you. And, you know, a lot of times it's about their own self-discovery too, about who they are going to be. So it's a working process. And we're fighting it every day.
I understand. Thank you for that response, Coach, and good luck this weekend and as we go further into MEAC play this year.
Thank you, brother. Get well. I see some crutches back there, so I don't know if that's for you, man, but if so, get well.
It is. Third ACL surgery.
Oh, my goodness, bro. Good gracious. Great. I don't know what you're doing, but you need to try pickleball or golf.
Yeah, I might start get some sticks and start playing golf.
There you go.
I have to stay off the court.
Yeah. You only just get a backache in golf. That's it. A backache and a headache, crutches. So
Yes, indeed.
Heal well.
Our next questions for Coach Moten come from Ray Rogers.
Coach Moten, what's happening, man?
Ray, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. You've had some tough teams over the years, man. I mean, I can look back in recent memory, look at guys like Eric Boone and Fred Cleveland. I can hear from your huddle, let's put our feet on their necks.
Oh,
And
man.
that's like the mentality that y'all have, man. Y'all go for the juggling. I love the killer instinct. But to be honest with you, watching your group this year, I can't get a feel for the identity of this team. So that's what I want to know. Like, what is the identity of this team with all the challenges you just outlined, transfer portal, new guys buying in, the dates you outlined, and what's your feel about that?
It's tough. It's it's tough, man. And I'm blown because you said something, and I haven't said that quote one time this year. I haven't told my team, let's put our foot on their neck. And that lets you know right there the type of team that we're trying to figure out, right? It's like, man, it's just the way of the world. Like, it's such as life. It's the times that we are in right now. We embrace it and we understand it, but it's like, to be honest, you really don't know. You don't really know your team, right? Because you don't know your team because they don't really know themselves right now. And it hurts. It's a struggle. Sometimes we're good, sometimes we're bad. We've been hurt, throughout the year. So that's delayed the process. So now that procrastination period has been now extended because they haven't even been able to be out here. We got a kid, Anthony Peoples. We expect a lot of him, but he just played his second Division I game last night. Right. And so at this point in the season, like, nah, man, you play against some killers that's hungry, especially in league play. It's 8 dogs chasing one bone. Right. So we ain't got time to pamper you and watch you through. And, it wasn't to his fault, but we got so many of those situations. And so now they're so behind mentally in terms of trying to grasp, but we were teaching them that it's playing out, and it played out last night ugly. I keep going back to that. And it played out against Coppin ugly. We had a chance to win both of those games despite of, but, we always hung our hat on the defensive end. We're not guarding the way we once did, right? And so now I'm learning about these guys. Who can I put out there when we need to stop? I'm learning. Right. And so we're just trying to figure it out, man. Like, and I hate to say that at this juncture and time of the year, but we're trying to figure that portion out. And that's, as coaches, you want to try to eliminate the unknown. So hopefully by Martin Luther King Day, we can eliminate the unknown. And now we know who and what we have, so we know how to play it and present it.
Coach, I appreciate you because you one of those still rare coaches that has that old school style. Like you said, you don't cut no corners. You're a straight shooter. And this generation can't always handle that. But I think that if you continue to push like you have in the past, I think it'll come together at the right time. So good luck.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
For sure.
That is all the media questions at this time for Coach Moten. Thank you so much for joining us and working through the technical difficulties earlier.
Thank you, guys. My apologies for that. That's completely not me. That's my apologies.
No problem.
I respect everybody's time, and that's the one thing God don't give us. So thank you guys for being patient with me as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good luck this season.
Thank you. Take care.
North Carolina Central is home this week, hosting Maryland Eastern Shore Saturday at 4 p.m., following with a visit from the Delaware State Hornets on Monday at 7:30 p.m. Both games will be broadcast on ESPN+. That brings us to the conclusion of the MEAC biweekly basketball coaches video conference presented by Town Bank. Before we end the call, we would like to thank all that assisted and participated in today's video conference. The MEAC would also like to thank its corporate partners, Town Bank, especially for their continued support of the conference and its Elite 8 member institutions. As a reminder, the next video conference is on Wednesday, January 22nd at 10 a.m. For more information on MEAC men's and women's basketball and other sponsored sports, visit MEACsports.com and follow the MEAC on social media at MEAC Sports on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Thank you all for tuning in to the MEAC biweekly men's and women's basketball coaches video conference presented by Town Bank, and have a great week.